Today we want to talk about the humanism of Marcus Tullius Cicero. He was a Roman statesman, orator, lawyer, and philosopher. Cicero was a Roman statesman, orator, lawyer, and philosopher who lived between 106 BC and 41 BC. Who lived between 106 BC and 41 BC. In his life, he rose to the position of consul, consul. Consul. It was the highest elected political office in the Roman Republic. It was the highest elected political office in the Roman Republic. Another thing that you need to note about Cicero is that he's considered the greatest orator in human history. He is considered the greatest orator in human history. So when it comes to oratory, we are learners where Cicero's name is mentioned. When it comes to oratory, we are learners where Cicero's name is mentioned. When it comes to oratory, the rest of us have to learn from Cicero. Remember the idea that the classical Greek and Roman world had the perfect system from which all of us afterwards try to learn from. That statement is also true in the field of rhetoric. That statement is also true in the field of rhetoric. Because the best speakers, the best orators were found in the classical period. And the greatest among them is this guy, Cicero. So, if you want to learn oratory, you need to learn it from the principles that Cicero left behind. If you go to any school of oratory, any rhetoric school, they will teach you the principles of oratory from Cicero. He is remembered for many expressions. Cicero is remembered for many expressions, memorable expressions, many memorable expressions. One of them is to be ignorant of what happened before you were born is to be ignorant of what happened before you were born is to forever remain a child. To be ignorant of what happened before you were born is to forever remain a child. Meaning that history is very important to any leader or to any person. You must learn your history, the history of your family, the history of your village, the history of your country. Because to be ignorant of what happened before you were born is to forever remain child. So write that down. One of the most memorable statements made by Cicero. He also said that where there is life, there is hope. He also said that where there is life, there is hope. So one of the works of Cicero that we want to look at concerning oratory is one of the works of Cicero that we must study because it concerns oratory is the Oretore. The Oretore. The Oretore means on the orator. On the orator. The Oretore means on the orator. And in this work, Cicero is on the orator, which means in Latin is the Oretore. Cicero aims to depict an ideal orator. Cicero aims to depict an ideal orator. The ideal orator. Remember that the ancients were interested in the ideal, in attaining perfection in whatever they did. The ancients were interested in attaining perfection. That's what defines the classical period. Perfection in all things. So take that into consideration when you understand the essence of Cicero's work on the orator. He wants to tell us the characteristics of an ideal orator that we can model after. It's not as if we can get there, because even the greatest man, the greatest orator in this work does not see himself as the greatest. We can only aim for perfection, and it's there as the mark that we need to hit. Okay? In the work, we are told of the importance of having the ability to speak and address an audience and hold attention. It is a mark of great leaders to be able to utilize speech. The ability to speak empowers the leader to govern and to lead the people. That's why the first mark of a good politician or a great leader is the person's ability to do what? To speak. All leaders must be gifted with oratory, the power to command the language and speak to people and hold attention and get them to see your vision through your words, and not only that, to get them to act based on that vision. Leaders interpret that vision to the masses by how they speak to them or interpret the vision to them through speeches. And a whole lot of ingenuity and creativity and imagination is brought to bear in these speeches. And you must note that oratory should be a gift for everyone. Not until you become the president, so that you avoid speaking volubly. Okay? But even in your small space, where you are the class prefect, the class rep, or where you are the leader of a team, or where you work in an office as a marketer and you need to go out and address customers and clients. If you don't have the ability to translate your knowledge into speech, you will not be very successful in what you're doing. Okay? Which is why, because you are in the department of English, you must be able to stand up here and address your audience, address the audience. And you must not be shy. Okay? Shyness is not a gift. As students of English, you need to be blessed with the gift of oratory. And you can start that even in your local churches. You can offer to teach Sunday school. Alright? I mean, in text, the greatest gift to address children and have their attention. So you can start from there. Because even when you make mistakes, even when you are shy, you will not be so noticed because you are talking to children. So, but you can now increase your audience to the youth fellowship or youth Sunday school. Remember that all your pastors are leaders. All your pastors are leaders. And most of them are blessed with the gift of oratory. Right? That's why before you know you have emptied your pockets. Understand? Before you know you don't have transport to pay back home after the Sunday service. How is that possible? Because the person was using sweet words. You understand? That you didn't even understand, you didn't even follow again. You didn't even know when you gave out everything to the Lord. Alright? Okay? So that's how it works. All great leaders in history had the gift of oratory. And you need to understand, like someone like Martin Luther King Jr. was a pastor, but he was also a leader of a community who brought about great changes because he had the power of oratory. Oratory empowers the individual. When you have the power, the gift of oratory, you're valued by society. And you're likely to be the leader of your community because you can speak and move them to action. You can speak and move people to take action, to do the right thing. Okay? The same way, if the gift of oratory falls into the wrong guy's hand, if the gift of oratory falls into the hands of the wrong guys, he will use it to destroy society. So if the gift of oratory falls into the wrong, the hands of the wrong guys, they will use it to destroy society. because they will use it to lie to the people, use it to cause problems, create insurrection. Ask one group to rise and fight with another. And you see, it will work. Because the masses are always moved by good speech. Especially when they are given a reason. But the same gift in the hands of a good person will use it to quell violence, create peaceful situations where there are trouble. And the person speaks, even when your heart was boiling, you begin to calm down, right? Because of the sweet words that are flowing in the person's mouth. So it behoves on the person gifted with oratory to have the right set of virtues so that they can use it for the good of society and not to destroy society. All these are contained in the Oretore on the orator, including the natural gifts expected of the orator, as well as the ones the orator will need to learn in order to perfect that natural gift. Because even though you are naturally gifted in oratory, you still have to undergo rigorous education in the art of public speaking. Because there are norms, there are ethics in the profession. The Oretore, or on the orator, was written in 55 BC. The Oretore, or on the orator, was written in 55 BC. But the book is set in 91 BC. The book is set in 91 BC. The book is set in 91 BC. So the book was written in 55 BC and set in 91 BC. Is it set in the present or in the future? Is it set in the past or in the future? Is it set in the past or in the future? The book was written in 55 BC and the setting is 91 BC. Is it set in the past or the future? So you remember that in this class I had said that in BC we don't count up, we count down. Okay, so you had 91 before 55 in BC. You first of all have 91 and then you count down to 55. Right? So it's set in the past. So how do you know the answer? So in 91 BC is the year that Lucius Licinius Crassus died, and the year of the social war, and the year that the social war began. The social war was fought between 91 and 88 BC. The social war was fought between 91 and 88 BC. So you can see that the Oretore is written in the form of dialogue, like most of the ancient texts at the time. Like most ancient texts at the time, the Oretore is written in dialogue form, with characters interacting and hence creating a story, evolving a story through that conversation or through those conversations. But the subject matter of the Oretore, or on the orator, is rhetoric. It's what? Rhetoric. Rhetoric means what? The art of persuasion through speech. the art of persuasion through speech. Without speech, the leader is ineffective, because you need to speak and move people to action, the right action. You interpret your vision to the people through speech. Rhetoric studies the ability of writers and speakers to persuade, inform, motivate an audience. Rhetoric studies the ability of speakers to do what? To persuade, inform, and motivate an audience. That's what rhetoric is all about. In rhetoric, we study the ability of writers and speakers to persuade, inform, motivate the audience. In the book, The Oretore, Cicero raises a number of issues concerning oratory in his time by using well-known characters and making them to converse, have dialogue with one another. With dialogue with one another. In the Oretore, Cicero brings important characters in his time together and makes them to engage in a dialogue which raises important issues concerning oratory in his time. In the Rome of that time, it was always necessary for the politicians to meet, the leaders to meet and discuss the state of things in the empire. It was always necessary to meet. It was always necessary for the leaders to meet and discuss the state of things in the empire. At this time, they were discussing the general decline in the politics of Rome. They were discussing the general decline in the politics of Rome. A Rome that is plagued by crisis and wars. Rome that is plagued by crisis or wars. The leaders meet in the garden of Lucius Licinius Crassus. They meet in the garden of Lucius Licinius Crassus' villa in a place called Tusculum. The characters present are Lucius Licinius Crassus, Quintus Metius Scaevola, Marcus Antonius, Gaius Aurelius Cotta, Publius Sulpicius Rufus. The conversation reveals the importance of dialogue to individual and society. Importance of oratory to individual and society. Both the individual blessed with the gift of oratory and the society in which the individual lives will stand to benefit a lot from the gift of oratory. 1. Oratory confers power on the individual. The gift of oratory confers power on the individual. People who know how to speak are powerful people. All human transactions are carried out through speeches, through words, and you need to know how to communicate in order to get what you want from the side. The gift of oratory helps the individual to defend himself against any attack. If you are gifted with oratory, you can defend not only yourself when attacked, but you can also defend others. That's why we normally say, I speak for others. Like writers speak for others, speak for those who cannot speak, or we don't have the platform to speak. So you can use the gift of oratory, whether as a writer or as a speaker, to do what? To defend yourself, your people, your community against any assault or attack. Because oratory is a power space. Oratory is what? Power space. You can also use the gift of oratory to maintain your right. If you know how to speak, people will not take your rights from you. You know how to use oratory, the power of oratory, whether as a writer, as a poet, a novelist, or a speaker, motivator. People will not joke with your rights. Because you can use speech to obtain your rights and the rights of your community. So, with all these benefits, who wouldn't want to be an orator? No one. So orators have the power to create social communities. All these views arise from the dialogue among characters. Create social communities. But we also note that, still in the same dialogue, we also note that oratory can be used to destructive ends. Oratory can be used to destructive ends. In the book, Crassus is identified as a complete and perfect orator. Crassus is identified as a complete and perfect orator. A complete and perfect orator is one who can speak in public about every subject with richness of argument and variety of tunes and images. This is what defines a gifted and ideal orator. Because in this work, we are searching for the ideal orator. A perfect orator is someone who can stand in public and speak boldly about any subject matter with skill, with skill. So that means that. So this shows how difficult it is to be a perfect orator. To speak on any subject matter in public with skill, with boldness, and favor. That is the mark of the ideal orator. It is stated in the book that orators must know their facts. Orators must speak with facts. Orators must speak with facts. And that the knowledge of the subject matter is very important in oratory. That means mastery of the subject matter you're speaking about is very important in oratory. But then the ideal orator is one who masters all the disciplines so that he can speak about them fluently. So an ideal orator must be well versed with the subject matter that he or she is speaking on. Please write these things down. If you don't know these things down, someday you pay a huge amount of money for you to be taught oratory by some people in town. Because you are suddenly made a counselor. And you need to speak to the community. And you are shy. So mastery of the subject matter, charm, charisma, and style are required in oratory. Mastery of the subject matter, charm, charisma. You have to stand out there and the people love you just by seeing you. Before you even open your mouth, you are attracted. Okay? By your stature, by your dressing. Okay? By your grooming, people already fall in love with you. Which is why when you have a great event, a great speech event, you begin by looking at your appearance. You have to wear a special dress that day, one that you've not worn before, one that is well starched, well ironed, and then you have to do your makeover, right? You have to do your makeover. So when you stand there, you are resplendent. That's part of the charm and the charisma. And you smile, right? You don't stand there like a stone. Okay? You stand there and frown. You pass across negativity to the people. They allow you to suck in the energy that you give. So you must not give a bad vibe while you stand out there. You must give out good vibes. Okay? From your appearance, your dressing, and everything. That's how it is done. So, mastery of the subject matter, you don't just dress well, but there's nothing in your head that you tell the people. Alright? Because that will not hate. Okay? So, it begins with mastery of the subject matter. Most times, great speakers, you may give them 15 minutes to speak, but they use 2 weeks to prepare. 2 weeks that are reversing that speech they are going to give for 15 minutes. Just putting in the work. Just like, in fact, anything that people do effortlessly, they come out and they do it effortlessly, it's deceptive that they want to do it so that you will be charmed, you admire what they're doing, but go and see the hard work they put in to execute that particular task that they're doing effortlessly. And then you understand that it is not beans. to do anything effortlessly, so that people just think, oh, it's easy. It's not easy at all. Okay? Take someone like Usain Bolt. How many of you know Usain Bolt? Okay? One of the fastest runners in contemporary history. He will tell you, I ran 9 seconds, but I used 4 years to train to run that 9 seconds. Because he wants to beat the record. He wants to even beat his own record. Right? But to do that, he will use 4 years to train on how to run that one race of 9 seconds. So that's how people become the best. It is not by sleeping in your house and snoring. Alright? You go and you eat 3 times a day. And you go around with cup baby, one like this. I think you're going to be successful in life. Alright? And you've not sacrificed your time for anything. Alright? Not even to read one book. Read this one book. Not possible. You start from the back of the book to read. Whereas there will be some of you who will read that same book 3 times, but you have not read one. So how can you be like the person who read it 3 times? You cannot. Alright? And when we ask you to talk about the book, that one that read 3 times will just stand up and say it as if it is nothing. But you just be wondering, how is that possible? You didn't put in the work. It's that simple. But when you put in the work, it becomes more or less effortless when you finally execute it. That's the trick. That's the secret of success in the world. Those people who come out and maybe perform tricks, magic or acrobatic tricks, and you admire and clap, go and see them when they are training. How rigorous. The mistakes they will make over and over in trying to perfect one move, so that they will come to the stage and mesmerize everyone. They will go through the repeated mistakes until they attain perfection. The same thing with oratory, with speaking. You aim to be the best by putting in hard work behind the scenes. When people are not seeing you. That's how it is. A great orator must be well versed in moral science. A great orator must be well versed in moral science. Science of morality. This is the knowledge of human conduct. This is the knowledge of human conduct. Moral science is the knowledge of human conduct. Knowledge of human conduct. How people behave. How people behave. Or how people should behave. How the orator should behave. The morality of the orator is quite important. Then the ideal orator must be well educated. The ideal orator must be well educated. The education of the orator cannot be overemphasized. It takes great training to be an orator. It takes great training to be an orator. Because you see, the orator's education is more rigorous than any other person's education. Because the orator is learning about everything, including human nature. The orator is learning about everything. He must have knowledge of every subject matter on the earth and must be able to speak about them. That's why sometimes in training people for speech making, we tell them come out and we give them a topic to talk about, the topic that we had not given them before. And so talk about this for 5 minutes. So the education of the orator is important. The orator can be compared to a poet or a writer who can write about subjects which he has not studied. The same thing. Because the poet writes about all human experiences. The same thing with the orator. He must be able to speak about a bit of everything in aviation, agriculture, economy, science, religion. You must know a bit of everything. Not necessarily a bit, not even a bit, but have deep knowledge of most things around you as an orator. So this is why constant learning is the mark of a good orator. Constant learning is the mark of a good orator. Constant learning should be the mark of a good orator. So this work is about an ideal orator. So all the characteristics we are listing are the characteristics of an ideal orator. And the ideal orator does not exist, but he's the person that we should strive to be like. That's how we should understand the work. All these characteristics are the things that should guide us towards becoming the better orator, better speaker, better writer, better communicator. Character in this work that is assumed to be the best orator is Crassus. But even Crassus says that he is not the best. Even Crassus says that he's not the best. So, some of the qualities of the ideal orator is that he must speak fluently. He must speak fluently. He must speak with clarity. He must speak fluently. He must speak with clarity. He must be smart and creative in his use of language, and he must be able to speak on any subject matter. The book also dwells on the relationship between natural talent and developed skills in the art of oratory. The book also deals with the relationship between natural talent and nurtured skills in the art of oratory. Some of the gifts that a good orator has come from nature. Some of the gifts that a good orator has come from nature. And they are imagination. Natural gifts of an orator are imagination, fluent speaking, strong lungs. Cannot buy that one in the market. Cannot give you that one in school. Strong lungs. Voice tone. When you speak, everybody hear. Voice tone. Body physique. Because Cicero believed that the speaker must have a large stature, so that when the person stands out, can be noticed. All right? Must be tall and has a huge body that's noticeable. All right? Not someone that when he comes out, will give him table to stand on, so that we can see him. Or they say the speaker is on stage, listen to the speaker, and we're like, where is the speaker? Where is the speaker? You can't see the speaker. Okay? That's body physique. And a pleasant face, handsome face. That's why I said, even if your face is not handsome, try and smile when you stand out there. Okay? So that you don't look like the juju of your village. Okay? Or you don't look like one of the masquerades in your village. Handsome face is necessary in order. It comes from nature. Okay? It comes from nature. That's part of the charm and the charisma that the orator exudes when he stands out to speak. So there are natural gifts, but they are needed in oratory. Especially at this time, they didn't have loudspeakers to amplify voices. So the person needed to have a natural booming voice. Okay? His voice needed to come with speakers. So immediately if he speaks, people will hear. We are told that all good speakers are usually anxious before the speech event. So if you ever feel anxious before the speech event, everybody has felt it. All good speakers usually doubt themselves whether they'll be able to do it. It's natural. Some are fearful, some are anxious. Okay? It's normal. One of the characters, Crassus, admits that he is usually scared to death before a speech event. He's the best speaker, but usually afraid. Okay? So, that anxiety is normal, but don't allow it to deter you. Just go out there and give your speech. Because you see, all leaders are afraid. All leaders are afraid. I mean all. But the brave ones manage to act in spite of their fears. All leaders are afraid. All leaders are afraid. But the brave ones manage to act in spite of their fears. You can write that down. There are some days when you feel like you can't do something, you can just still do it in spite of saying you cannot do it. That's how to proceed. All leaders are afraid, but the brave ones manage to act in spite of their fears. So Crassus admits that he's usually afraid before the speech event. usually scale. So the orator is an embodiment of several things. The orator is an embodiment of several things. The orator is an embodiment of several things. One, he must have the subtlety of a logician. When you speak, you should make sense. When you speak, you should make sense. Don't speak balablue. Do not speak balablue. Whenever you speak, you must make sense. Alright? Don't give a town hall speech. Right? Don't give a town hall speech. The speech of the town hall. Alright? The subtlety of a logician. Logician. The subtlety of a logician. You must have the subtlety of a logician. Your speech must make sense. Right? Must make sense. The orator must have the mind of a philosopher. The orator must have the mind of a philosopher. The mind of a philosopher. You must be able to reason. Because when people listen to you, they want to see reason in what you're saying, the logic, everything should follow. Should be like a sensible person is speaking. Your words must make sense. Now you are speaking, people say, where is this person coming from? Okay? You must have the language of a poet. You must have the language of a poet. That means it is important for the orator to master the language of expression. Because it's the language that you use to persuade people. They must love how you use words. Okay? Most people fall in love with politicians because of how they speak. Because of how they speak, how they use words. And sometimes because of the style of their speech. So the language of a poet, you must have the language of a poet. You must master the language. There's nobody that is able to use language as well compared to a poet. So if we say that the orator must use language as a poet, then you know what that means. You must be able to command the language. You must be able to do what? Command the language. You must have the command of the language. The orator must have the memory of a lawyer. The memory of a lawyer. The orator must have the memory of a lawyer. Cicero himself was a lawyer. Lawyers remember things, remember facts, remember cases so that they can quote, cite in their speeches. You must have the memory of a lawyer. You must be able to remember. You must be able to even memorize quotes to use when you are speaking. You hear some orators when they are speaking, they will say, according to Abraham Lincoln. And they will quote exactly. You need to have the memory of the lawyer. Not according to Abraham Lincoln. Okay, when I remember it, I will say it. Okay? Of course, that's where practice comes in. You need to practice your speech. Must have the memory of a lawyer. Must have the voice of a tragic actor. Must have the voice of a tragic actor. That means the voice must arrest attention. The voice must arrest attention, must capture attention. the voice of a tragic actor. When the tragic actor speaks, everybody's quiet because of the tone of his voice and the heaviness of the subject matter. You must listen to it. And finally, the gesture of the most skilled actor. The gesture of the most skilled actor. We have the gesture of the most skilled actor. The gesture of the most skilled actor. That means you don't just come to the speech events and you stand like a molded stone in a shrine, speak. So today I have come to address you on a very important subject matter. You know, you need to use gestures, right? And also you need to use the gestures to interpret the meaning of your words, right? Mean that if you are talking about a very sad event, there's no need for you to start smiling. You understand? An airplane has crashed, 100 people have perished, and you come out to address the people as the representative of the airline or the government, and you're still smiling. They'll ask whether you're well at all. They'll ask, who is this one? Your mood, when you see those people, just pay attention to their mood. Everything reflects the sorrow, the tragedy. Okay? It isn't all over their faces. You know that from maybe you see them, you know that they're going to talk about something tragic. They're able to compose themselves, their gestures to suit the speech event. Or it's a very happy ceremony, people have won awards, you know, and then you are coming with a sad face. Okay? It doesn't suit the event. So that's what we are talking about. The gestures, facial expression, the body language must reflect the speech event. So who's the saying? So the orator must be given a liberal education. The orator must be given what? A liberal education. Education in the arts and science of human conduct. The main aim of the orator is to speak in a proper way to persuade the audience. You must know the purpose of the speech event, what you are supposed to do in the speech event, and you must structure your speech to achieve that purpose. Sometimes the purpose might be to make the audience laugh, like if you're a comedian. Your purpose is to make the audience laugh. So if that's your purpose, then ensure that when you start speaking, the audience will be laughing. So know your purpose and make sure you achieve it at the end of the speech event. In this case, you are supposed to persuade your audience on an issue, buy them over to your opinion. Meaning that you have to use debate. Because in politics, we are supposed to use debate to convince people, not these days that they use force. Alright? In politics, we use debate and facts to convince people. So that's how it works. It is to persuade the audience. So know your purpose. What do you want to achieve with the speech? What are you supposed to achieve with the speech? So structure the speech to achieve that purpose. The orator must be sure of his facts. The orator must be sure of his facts. That means you must do your research. The orator must do research on what he's talking about to get the facts of the case. Because the orator is also an educator. As you speak, you're educating people on what they didn't know, so that you can make them believe in what you want them to believe in. So you have to tell them the truth. And truth means facts. Give the facts and the figures. The orator must be sure of his facts. The orator must be sure of the legality of his words. You can make a statement here, the next moment they arrest you. And they say, come and prove what you said. Because you were running your mouth. You must be sure of the legality of your words when you are speaking. Some people leave the stage and go straight to prison, start defending themselves on sedition, treason, libel charges. Okay? On sedition charges, libel charges, treasonable charges, incitement charges. We were trying to incite the youth. We were trying to incite the youth against the government. Or you impugn someone's reputation in public because of your words. Okay? You said this particular politician is a thief, but you don't have a fact. So when they ask you, the politician is a thief, when they come and ask you, this politician is a thief, what did they steal? And you now start looking around from left to right. Okay? Some people just put themselves into trouble by not knowing the legality of their words. Because you're going to be a writer, you're going to be a speaker, you're going to be addressing the public. You must restrain yourself while speaking and say only what you know, so that you can go home and meet your family at the end of the day. Okay? These are your family being food for you. I'm coming to visit you in one place like that. So he must know his subject very well, as well as the classification of the subject. He must know his subject very well, as well as the classification of the subject. He must know his subject very well, as well as the classification of the subject. The knowledge of the narrator should be applied in 5 steps. The knowledge of knowledge of the orator should be applied in 5 steps. The knowledge of the orator should be applied. How many steps? 5 steps. 1. Find the argument. Find the argument. 1. Find the argument. We call it invention. Dispose them in logical order by importance and opportunity. Dispose them in a logical order by importance and opportunity. Dispose the argument in a logical order. That is called disposition. Use rhetorical devices in the speech. Beautify the speech with rhetorical devices. Beautify the speech with rhetorical devices. You are not only speaking to pass information, you are speaking to impress. You are speaking to charm. You are speaking to the admiration of the people. So you need to use figures of speech, tropes, to beautify what you're saying. That means you must say ordinary things in extraordinary ways. You must learn to say ordinary things in extraordinary ways. The style, that's the style. Okay? We call that elocution. Next, memorize them or commit them to memory. Commit them to memory. Commit them to memory. Then say the speech with art of grace, dignity, gesture, voice modulation, and face modulation. Say the speech with the art of grace, dignity, gesture, and the modulation of voice and the face. Facial expression. Use of facial expression. Okay? You must deliver the speech with grace, as you make it look easy. Will look easy, simple. So you let it flow as if it is nothing. Right? That's grace. With dignity. With dignity. Respect for self, respect for others. With gesture. I've already demonstrated lack of gesture. With gesture. Alright? And with modulation of voice and face. Voice and face. That means you must have your facial expressions aligned with the mode of the speech. When you're saying something serious, your face must be serious. Use the right gestures. So you can say, today we are going to take that step. Not today, we are going to take that step. Alright? Doesn't work that way. You've not done any demonstration. Alright? So you use facial expression. Smile when it's necessary. Alright? So please note that language mastery is central to oratory. Language mastery is central to oratory. Most of us use English. So, how you master speech in English is to master the language. How you master speech in English is to master the language. So, study the language. Be good and fluent in it. And you master the speech in the language. Oratory is rooted in language. Even those who speak to us in Ibibio during events that master the Ibibio language. You who masters English, if you master English and you can speak in English, you want to try to speak in Ibibio, you will not be a good orator because you don't master Ibibio. So, mastery of the language is very important. So, again, the orator must express himself clearly. He should speak with elegance. And the orator must always rehearse, practice before coming out to speak. The orator must rehearse, must practice before coming out to speak. So part of the preparation for speech, for the speech event, is for you to research into the subject matter. research into the subject matter. The speech might be for 10 minutes, but there's nothing wrong in using 1 month to prepare for that 10-minute speech, so that you can map everything from the beginning to the end. And so that 10 minutes will be like poetry, and that speech will remain timeless. So you must prepare. Preparation is very important. Do your research, prepare, master the speech, look good, and follow all the instructions that you were given. That's where we end our class for today. When we meet again, we'll take another topic.